My name is Tim Genske. I write for Forbes magazine about the Olympics the last few years. I intend to keep writing, I hope, through the 2028 Los Angeles Games because I'm based in Los Angeles. And Christophe, I hope if you come to Los Angeles, there's maybe some way to see you somewhere in person. But this interview will go up on my YouTube channel, which is Our Olympics, one word, Our Olympics, as well as in social media, some excerpts, clips from the interview. So I'm very grateful. It's really a pleasure for me. I get to interview athletes, executives, coaches, sponsors. They're all important. Everybody has a role to play. But this is the first time I've gotten to interview someone from the IOC. Today, my guest, it's a pleasure to get to interview Olympic Games Executive Director Christophe Dubi. Do I pronounce that correctly?
That's right.
And, I had said to Ozzy, the first thing I really wanted you to share about, because I did my homework. I tried to do my homework. I loved your story, your personal story. I love the fact that it started with Sapporo, 1972, Winter Games, and your father. And hockey, I want you to talk about that because I could identify with that. My first Olympic moment was 9 years of age, Grenoble,
Hey,
1968.
1968. Of course, Jean-Claude Killy, who remains a very close friend, by the way, exchange every day with Jean-Claude. He's been amazing throughout these years. So, for me, it's 72, Tim. And by the way, thank you for having me on your show and the interview. That's much appreciated to have this opportunity. 72, why? Because I had exactly up above your left shoulder, you have here a picture from one of the mountain resort with the rings. For me, it was in our small apartment, and my dad played in 72, and there was exactly the same format. One of these white pictures, it was the opening ceremony. And at the time, of course, nothing as sophisticated as today, but they were in the middle of the 400-meter speed skating oval, of course, outdoor. And there was a little a tiny line in the middle, which was all dressed in white, and that was the Swiss team. And my dad always has told me, here is where I was. And why was it important for me, that little picture? Because my dad is a great guy. He had a formidable career. He's been an entrepreneur, but he's a very good person, right? To start with, a great person. And the meaning of the games in everything and all the buzz around him constantly, every time going back to this is the moment. And I realized how important sport and the games was from very early age. 72 for me.
And similar for me was Jean-Claude Killy in 1968. He's not even an American. And I wanted to be Jean-Claude Killy. And I realized I thought the greatest thing in the world at that point, and for many, many years, was to represent your country in your sport. And I've gotten to meet other Olympians along the way, like John Neighbor from 1976 Montreal, and just what it takes to get there, just to make the games, much less to make the podium and win a medal. So I think we're really very similar in that regard. I want to fast forward to 1996. Atlanta, you were a young 27-year-old intern for the Olympics, for those games. And here we are 30 years later. What happened? Yeah. Talk about that at the beginning and how you got hooked.
I was working in finance and real estate. I was teaching macroeconomics as well at the time and really loved what I was doing, except that I had a terrible boss. It happens. I had a terrible boss. So I decided to leave the organization in which I was, and I'm helping my dad in his little company, and we meet someone down the street, and my dad stops him and says, Gilbert, how are you? Long time no see. My son Cristophe, he's helping me here with carrying some woods over the shoulder, but maybe at the IOC, and Gilbert was the sport director at the time, you might have something for him. And he said, yeah, I need a trainee. Well, why don't you join? Come next week. So I started next Monday as a trainee in the IOC, and here I go 30 years later. And what happens in the meantime is the IOC back in 96 goes through the Atlanta Games. We are a small organization as far as games is concerned. And Jacques Rogge, who's supervising the next games, which is Sydney, realizes that we are lacking the proper supervision and coordination to avoid any of the issues we encountered at the time in Atlanta. Formidable games, but a few issues that were to be addressed. And he said, I want someone to coordinate the games from an IOC standpoint. And I was the only person available in the organization, I think. So he said, and it will be you. And fast forward, President Rogge is elected in 2001, and in a few years later, he calls me in his office and says, "Well, do you know that you're the next sport director?" And I said, "But President, I never pitched for that job." And he said, "Yes, but I'm the president, and you are the next sport director." And since then, he's been sport director for a few years, looking after sports and the international federations for a few games. And then they gave me the responsibility for the oversight and management of games. So this is how it went. Pretty simple. Meeting the good people, being at the right place at the right time, and somewhat seizing the opportunities as well.
And one thing led to another. Eventually, you became sports director, your previous role for several years. Talk about that a little bit and the 4 commissions and your job description.
Yeah. So the sport director position is a very central one within the IOC. It has the role to first deal with the product, which is the content of the games, through a commission which is called the Program Commission. So it's fundamental, it's very technical, it is very political, it's the heart of the games. And this is done in coordination and cooperation with the international federations. And they come in all shapes and forms. You have amazingly sophisticated operations for some of the big federations and very small ones that lives and breathes through the games. So that diversity is pretty fascinating. And in the mix as well, we had the athletes and the entourage commissions. So one is looking at the services for the athletes themselves, and then make sure that anything around is taken care of. And this is the entourage commission with the coaches, the parents. It quite often starts with the parents, and anyone that is being added to what is a very sophisticated entourage around each of the athletes and teams. So that job was really fascinating, because it's the heart and soul of what we do. It's sport, and it's the athletes and their entourage. So I had a good time. Good time.
And eventually, you move on from there to your current role, executive director, where the phrase we use here in the States is you do everything from soup to nuts. Basically, from what I can see, you are there at the very beginning as the candidate cities come forward to want to be selected as a possible host city, and you're there at the end to unwind the commission. Is that correct?
Correct. I wouldn't describe it differently. And what is fascinating in that position is you take the project from when it's established by a few individuals and there is a strong vision. Case in point, Los Angeles, Casey Wasserman at the time. And this is when you try to assess the added value that the games can bring to a city, to a region, to a nation, and the reverse being true, what that community can offer to the games. And then once the contract is signed, you go through the whole life cycle of a project, which is basically strategy, planning, and then operations delivery until you wind up. So yes, it's quite a fascinating journey for projects over 10 years. So those partnerships are really long lasting. And the second aspect, which is amazing, is that although conceptually it is the same approach every time with the same phases and stages, you do that in China, you do that in Russia, you do that in France, here in Italy or in the US, and it's every time different.
Yeah.
You always have, a different local culture, different cultural background, legal system, commercial strengths, and political systems as well. So that diversity is making the whole thing amazingly interesting. Amazingly interesting.
It's a gigantic undertaking. Really, anybody that dives in, and I've tried to begin to study the process, like you said,
Uh-huh.
it's a 10 to 12 year uh, arc or curve from the time people are getting hired on full time at the highest level, staffing up for a decade.
Mhm.
And every culture, every city's different, and different cities want to try different things. You know, I appreciated that Paris wanted to do the opening ceremonies down the Seine. I'm not
Mhm.
so sure that was a good idea in hindsight, but you try things and it just, I can't imagine you're right in the middle of it. And we have 3 weeks until Milan-Cortina. I want to talk about that in a minute, but I was just thinking, I wonder if Christophe is sleeping, just thinking about everything on your to-do list every day here, the final 30 days, including getting the ice hockey arena done.
Yeah, we'll get to the ice hockey arena in the final stage of preparation. Sleeping because we have, and that's courtesy of our project being quite fascinating for many. It mobilized the best of what a nation can mobilize, and being from a political standpoint. It goes generally to the highest level of states, and including in United States, where we have a task force that is headed by the president, and it goes down to the most amazing business people that generally are taking part in boards and supporting the games through partnerships. And then the OCOG strength lies in the individuals that hold key positions, and down the ranks, a lot of expertise. And within the IOC, we have amazing people as well. So the only way you do this is by having the greatest people and the spirit to make sure that the somewhat and sometimes conflicting interest that one might have is always in the end geared toward the same objective, which is deliver great games, because no one would want anything else. And that spirit, that the games are greater than individual interest, makes it an incredible environment. And those people around are so great that, yes, I can speak at night. Not speak, sleep at night. Maybe I speak during my dreams, but I sleep pretty well, although we have, yes, a number of issues at this stage. It's all about people. It's all about people,
And getting the right people.
the right people.
So,
In
what are the two or three things you're thinking about, you know, in your daily duties right now? Milan
Yeah,
Cortina is Milano Cortina is really interesting in that they chose to do these games spread between a couple hundred miles from Milan to Cortina, depending on
yeah,
which road or train you take. I personally like it because I love Milan and I love Cortina and its history with the Olympics. And
yeah,
they're trying to combine the two along with sustainability and some other goals.
yeah.
But you know, what are the two or three things at the top of your mind today as a executive director?
Yeah, we'll get back to these different locations, because you have a lot of pros, but you have challenges as well. So what is hard at that point in time is any event, even the smallest you organize, a party at night in your house. It always comes down to the assembly at the last during the last stretch of all elements. I was today in Livigno. I was 2 days ago at MH1, the ice hockey one in Santa Giulia. You have 1,000 workers. Okay. Yesterday night, I was coming back from dinner. It was around 11 o'clock in Livigno. People were working on the mountains, because this is when it all comes together. Because a lot in our event business is temporary, and temporary you don't install 8 months before. This all comes together at that very point in time. So you have thousands of actions to be delivered each and every day, and this is what is stressful in our business. Um, if I look at it from the whole theater of operation, we had a lot of concern in Livigno regarding snow production because we were heavily dependent on a new snow production system, and it works brilliantly. So snow production is done. So Livigno, and I just come back from it, is fantastic. I'm now in Bormio, same feeling in Bormio. In my backyard here is the Stelvio, one of the most challenging and beautiful slope where we'll have men's alpine skiing and also ski mountaineering, and here it looks fantastic. So both Livigno and Bormio looking good, but Livigno was really a source of concern. But now we're tick that box, move on. Santa Giulia remains number one priority. So we had a very good test event, and I think that NHL commented just a few hours ago, actually, when they woke up, I saw that they were satisfied with the test event, but there is still a lot of work outside of what is a very dramatic sitting ball. It's all black. In the future, it's mostly for music concerts and indoor sport, basketball, volleyball. It looks fantastic. The ice was great. Bon. But we still have a lot of work. 8,000 people working in and around the venue, which, by the way, I've visited so many times. And every time I go, I'm surprised what 1,000 people can do in a day. Okay, so no doubt that it will be finished. Painting on some wall might still be drying the day we enter, but guess what? It will not hamper in any way the experience of first the athletes, all the fans and spectators. So that's the number one priority.
That's great, and it's great to hear about the snow and your satisfaction with the condition of the snow. That was one of my questions. So I think the fact that it is in Milan as much as or more that it's in Cortina. Milan is a big international city, and you want it to be safe. You want to secure it. I know that was security was an issue in Paris. It doesn't seem like people are as stressed out about Milan. You want to comment on that?
No, I think it's a different risk environment. You don't have the same level of threat that you had in Paris and here. I'm no qualified expert, but we rely really on the public authorities and the intelligence in particular to guide the planning for security. And the great thing about the games, and I was speaking about people because it's a community of people that come together. It's the same in Paris. You saw the report that more than 150 countries had sent security and intelligence people in Paris, and they had worked together on analyzing the risk profile. And it's always the same. When you come to the games, you want it to be absolutely secured, and the community comes together. What we have as the evaluation is it will be fully secured. Of course, the public authorities are doing what they have to do, but it's not the same risk profile as Paris indeed. And we don't have, as you referred to it, an opening ceremony out there on the river Seine. So it's a more classic one in San Siro. By the way, I still believe on my side that the ceremony on the Seine was one of the greatest moments. Yes, it was raining and it was complicated. It was an amazing operation. But in terms of moments, Celine Dion and the Eiffel Tower in front of all this crowd, come on. Still give me goosebumps.
They were aspirational. They dared to go for it and do something that was really out there, and I think it was wonderful just for doing something different. In our case, in Milano-Cortina, you decided to have the closing ceremonies in a 2,000-year-old Roman arena. Is that correct?
Yeah. Verona, going there on Sunday, and a beautiful ceremony. I've seen some of the slides, courtesy of the job. You know, one day you discuss about cybersecurity, the next day finance or politics, but you also meet some of the creative people, and what they have for opening and closing is so elegant. The opening ceremony in San Siro will be magical, honestly. It is first, those people behind have been there, done that, deliver massive shows, including Torino 2006, and you might remember some of the amazing pictures at the time. So the same people behind Marco Balic and others, and same for Verona. It's an amazing venue. It's very tiny, so we won't have a lot of spectators. It will be full for sure. Not a lot of spectators, but what a backdrop for a show that would be memorable. And you know, a closing ceremony quite often is a great party. Here it's more than this. It has a lot of gravitas. It is very elegant. It is so Italian. Of course, you wouldn't expect anything else, but so fitting to the place. I look forward to it, and also because it's the end.
Yeah. Well, I had two more questions for you.
Yeah.
One of which, on that note, was Christophe Dubi. Do you ever take a breath and relax at some point in the process and just become a spectator like everybody else and enjoy the moment?
No, no. That's not part of the job, and I'm happy with this. The games is for others to enjoy. I mean, we have an incredible opportunity to be working in such a stimulating environment with everything I said in respect to the interest of what we do. But games time, no. Christmas break, no. And from there, more or less, I'm in Italy, and I will not go back. So the family is back home. They will come and they will enjoy. Me, no. No, you cannot. You have to be on the deck. Nowadays, also with the constant pressure and the constant reporting from anyone about anything that can happen, means that you have to be constantly vigilant and be able to respond. It's a big system. There is a lot of interest. You want things to be enjoyable for everyone. So any minute details that need to be fixed, you need to know about it. So it's not for me to enjoy. And if yes, I can go here and there to a competition and have a good time for half an hour, I'm already happy. And I don't ask for more. It's but everybody else that is out there, from volunteers, all these pins, hats exchange, and everything that happens in that Olympic community games time, that fills me with joy. I don't need anything else.
Well, I believe you, but this morning, thinking about the interview, one of the things that crossed my mind was, of all things, your countrywoman, Cami Rast, this weekend beat Michaela Schifrin, and she's kind of skiing at the top of her game right now. And if she happens to get on the podium and win that gold, I hope that that'll be one of those moments where you will let yourself relax and cheer like everybody else.
Well, you know what? Um, who am I? Am I a Swiss really? When actually I've never worked on a project in Switzerland outside of the youth games, and I feel so Italian, and I feel so American when I work in the US, and I feel so French. And by the way, I'm a citizen of honor of the Gangwon province. I feel very Korean as well. So yes, I'm always happy when great champions, and if they are Swiss, great. But frankly, if you have any of these champions, it's such a wonderful achievement and moment. What I want, though, is that any of these wins are celebrated by the communities. And when we were speaking about the potential challenge with these games being across the region, it's not so much that the specialty of pasta in Livigno is not the same as here in Bormio, but it's the fact that as an athlete, you have to feel that when you win, you're part of the Milano-Cortina games wherever you are. And what I'm looking after right now is anything that happens from a community standpoint, from the city dressing to the life sites where like in Paris, the Champions Park, athletes will be celebrated every night, so they have the time of their life. And by the way, the fans will do as well, because you'll have local bands and plenty happening everywhere across what is a big theater of operation. It might be big, but it will feel as one because of what happens around the athletes. So Swiss medals, great, others equally great. That's the Swiss
Thank you for
in me,
saying that
very
about the
neutral.
athletes. And they work so hard to get there. And every time I talk to one of them, interview them, I always tell them to enjoy the journey. Enjoy it. Enjoy the opening ceremony if you can make it. I know a lot of athletes can't do the ceremony because of their events. So, my
And
last
Kev,
question to you was any
no, no,
advice to,
can I do you mind, Tim, if I bounce back on this one for what we've done here, and I hope it works because if it does, Alpe Française and then potentially Switzerland 2038 will be the same. The ceremony will be on 4 locations, so we have most of the action in San Siro, but you will have um, athletes march in Cortina with a special setup in the main street of Cortina. The same will happen in Livigno and in Predazzo. So when the US team march on, we take them from Milano. We have then the women alpine skiers, curlers, bob and luge people from the same delegation in Cortina, moving on to Livigno and then Predazzo. And for the first time, the athletes can be in that ceremony. It never happens, but we wanted to offer something special. So between the ceremony and the Champions Park every night, I hope we offer something really special. Yes, it's far from Milano, but something truly special. Happy with this.
I love that because I have spoken to athletes like our two divers that won our first medal for the U.S. in the Summer Games in Paris, and they had to be in their beds in the village at 9 o'clock because their event was the very next day. And people just aren't aware of that, spectators, people watching it on TV. So thank you for sharing that. Any final words of advice to all of us Olympic fans as we go into Milano-Cortina, what to focus on or anything that you're looking forward to? Final words to the public.
Move away from sport. For me, there are two distinct elements in the games that are amazing after all these years, and one is to enjoy the local pride. Organizing the games, knowing that the whole world is watching, is something very unique. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of energy, um, to deliver something where you're exposed to the rest of the world. And when they do, they are so proud. And what is great in here is that I was speaking about the food and making fun of the pasta, but it's true everywhere you go here from Milano to Cortina, it's radically different. Cortina to Livigno, different world, but everywhere you will have that local pride. So try to enjoy that local pride and local culture, first thing. And second, and this is where the games are fascinating, if I was always passionate by sport, I'm probably more passionate what sport can do in terms of value, and this is the true power of inspiration. It's the respect for the international community and what it means when we come all together at the time of the games. This is so unique to have all of us united. And that's the second thing I would hope people will enjoy in front of the Duomo in Milano, where you will have flags and pants and costumes from all nations, to Predazzo and Val di Fiemme. So this is very unique. So when you go to the games, it's sport, but it's these other elements as well.
Well, thank you for sharing those thoughts. And I agree with you. And so do the founders of the Olympic movement in the very beginning, wanting to bring countries together and celebrate their differences as well as their similarities. So I
And,
look
and
forward
here,
to
here we
seeing
are.
you somewhere on screen. You'll be in the background maybe most of the time, but thank you for all of your personal efforts to make this a world-class experience for all of us that'll be watching in a couple of weeks. And I look forward to seeing you in Los Angeles in 2028.
No, Tim, this is before 2028. We committed to have the same kind of interview live somewhere in LA, and that's before 28. That's my commitment. In the meantime, thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Enjoy
right.
the moment.